So Outpost 37, also known as Alien Outpost. Now you may think this is kind of these throwaway bargain bucket sci-fi movies that probably the Asylum churns out, but let me tell you, you may have kind of missed a hidden gem if you've missed this one, because this is actually an extremely well made movie. Now if you're a fan of the movie Battle of Los Angeles or the TV show Falling Skies, it's kind of along those lines. Basically it takes place over a decade after this kind of alien invasion, has happened on Earth, basically, and we're told in a kind of variety of means that essentially this alien force, which are kind of known as the Heavies, have essentially retreated, but they've left on Earth, a large number of these kind of like armoured sentries, these kind of like aliens in kind of suits of armour, basically, and the humans of the world have kind of banded together somewhat and basically created a variety of outposts along the world to kind of clean up this kind of last remaining force. And basically the humans have been decimated, so the military is basically stretched rather thin, shall we say. And basically it focuses on one particular outpost, this being Outpost 37, which is in Pakistan, and it basically focuses on a group of soldiers there, as this is the outpost that tends to have the most activity on it. And there is a reason for this, and I can't go into too much information here, fear of giving away spoilers, but suffice to say that the aliens have come up with kind of a new plan and are planning something different with this particular outpost, something the humans haven't kind of seen before. And that's all I'll kind of really say about the plot, because the plot, to be fair, is quite slight. There's not a lot to it, but it is not bad considering the budget to this film, so I'll come on to again in just a second. But that's as far as I'll go in the plot. So like I said, this is actually reminiscent of the Battle Los Angeles movie more than anything else, I would say. Now, the interesting thing here, it's kind of obviously meant to be a found footage film. So let me start off with the negatives first of all. So the found footage film, two issues I'll have with this. So first of all, this obviously takes place in the future, and if you're having a found footage film, I think it loses kind of some of the impact due to the fact that obviously this date hasn't actually happened yet. So clearly, I think some of the impact, obviously we know these found footage films are obviously not real, but since this is obviously in the future, it kind of lessens maybe that impact a little bit for it. That's kind of a minor quibble. The other thing I would say of the found footage sort of genre in the way it's used in this film is it doesn't always seem like a found footage film. In fact, it barely seems like a found footage film, because the way that the sort of the camera action works, basically there's two documentary filmmakers that are kind of along for the ride with this kind of military unit, but the use of cameras and things like that doesn't appear to be, for the most part, in the style of kind of found footage, meaning there's lots of kind of cuts to different camera angles and things like that, and we see sometimes static shots, and kind of we actually see both the filmmakers on the screen at the same time at sometimes. So it only appears to be found footage when it wants to be, and even when it is, it's kind of the quality is quite good. You don't get the kind of the blackouts that you do in a lot of these kind of like horror based found footage films. So if you don't like found footage films in general, you may want to give this one a go, because I say this is only just a found footage film, found footage light, if you like. Now, if I'm going to go on to the negatives first for this film, the thing I would say maybe is the biggest negative here is there's not a lot of action until you get to the sort of the third act, and towards the end of the third act. So the first 2/3 of this movie are a little on the slow side, unfortunately. I guess part of that is due to the budget, and it's kind of building up this sort of characters of these soldiers, but I don't think it does a brilliant job of really sort of differentiating these kind of different guys. You don't feel like you get to know these sort of characters particularly well, I don't think. It is done in the style of more of a war film than a sci-fi film, I would say, but I think just due to maybe the script, it's a little bit lacking in some characterization, so. But the positives in this film far outweigh the negatives, because I have to say this film is extremely well made for the budget. It is a little hidden gem, this film. Now, I wasn't expecting much, especially with a title like Alien Outpost. It just sounds like it's going to be some kind of asylum flick, but the production values on here are excellent. For the budget for this film, I was really impressed. I mean, when you look at this movie, everything about it is made with the best quality that they can possibly do for the money. for a technical aspect, first of all, so the camera work, the lighting, the sound, great, can't fault it. Moving on to the effects, they're a mixture of CGI, and the CGI sometimes, it kind of looks CGI, but it's not bad quality, to be fair. I think it does a reasonable job. I mean, if you watch stuff like the Falling Skies, it's kind of that sort of style of CGI. We can kind of accept it. It's not sort of so bad that it's kind of takes you out of the movie. It's acceptable for the kind of film you're seeing. I mean, if you maybe just see this at the cinema thinking you're going to be at some blockbuster, you may feel a little bit shortchanged. But for the most part, I have to say, the CGI was good, but then it relies solely on CGI. A lot of this stuff is practical as well. The heavies, which are the kind of the bad guys, these aliens, basically, we do see them quite a lot, and the kind of the effects on them, they're pretty good. I mean, we see them a fair amount, and although we don't know lots about them, they kind of deliberately keep the motivations kind of murky. But we see a fair bit of them. They kind of look menacing, and they kind of look pretty decent and well designed. So the effects are great. The stunt work is very good. There's lots of kind of firefights and military hardware, and I think all that looks pretty good. Now, there's no sort of well-known actors in this movie, but the acting isn't bad at all either. So it does a decent enough job here of making you believe these guys are kind of proper military types. Like I said, I mean the characterization on some of them is a little bit lacking, but that's more the script than the acting, to be fair. So I can't fault the acting as well. And again, maybe a script issue. The story is kind of slight, but to be fair, I still think it's effective. The end battle is very well staged and kind of exciting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of John Carter from Mars. Now I think about it as well, in certain degrees. Okay, the first 2/3 of this movie, there's a couple of kind of minor skirmishes here, and you can kind of guess what's going on pretty early. I won't sort of tell you the twist here, but sometimes in some films I think, how are they not realising what's going on? And this is kind of one of the cases here where we as an audience can clearly see what the problem is, but the characters in the movie don't sort of cotton on until a lot later, when you're thinking, it's fairly obvious, especially if you were you're accepting that there's alien technology in play here and things like that. But overall, it was a quality movie, far exceeded my expectations about what I thought this was going to be like. It's definitely a movie I would suggest checking out if you're a kind of probably a war movie fan or an action fan, and obviously a sci-fi fan as well. I mean, it kind of if you like Battle on Los Angeles and if you like Falling Skies, you will definitely like this movie. I absolutely guarantee it. So go check it out. It's called either Alien Outpost or Outpost 37, depending on where you're from. I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.